Although virtual reality has always been featured prominently in fictional versions of our dystopian future, for a while it seemed like it wasn't really going to catch on in the real world. Sort of like how all the sci-fi writers in the mid-20th century universally agreed that we'd have flying cars by the early 21st century. And yet here we are in the actual 21st century, and the technology exists technically, and there are companies that are actually trying to build these contraptions, flying cars. But most of us have come to realize that having everybody fly around in their own personal aircraft would be a disaster. I mean, most drivers can barely manage to pilot their vehicles on the ground. It's horrifying to think about what would happen if these drivers had access to the sky. I guess those who made these predictions about the future also assumed that the average driver would have mastered the fundamentals of using a steering wheel by now, but that has not been the case. And so flying cars have not taken off figuratively or literally, and probably never will. And if they do take off, most of them will certainly crash and burn about 45 seconds later. I had always hoped that virtual reality would suffer the same failure to launch. And I felt heartened in recent months as Mark Zuckerberg unveiled his metaverse, which is his virtual reality vision. And I was encouraged to see how boring and dull it is. As we talked about on the show, Zuckerberg's great vision is to create an immersive internet experience where people can enter inside it, like the Matrix, crossing through a portal into a limitless 3D virtual reality world where they can have meetings and conference calls. Zuckerberg's cyber universe is considerably more boring than the regular universe. And this is what happens when you put like Spock in charge of designing our VR utopia. But I've probably taken too much solace in this. The fact is that there are other VR platforms aside from the hellish corporate seminar universe that Zuckerberg is creating, and VR is, like it or not, catching on. There are currently about 50 million VR users in America today. The whole industry is worth about $8 billion, projected to grow to nearly $30 billion in the next 5 years or so. More importantly, the most powerful corporations in the world, companies that have literally made a science out of understanding and predicting and manipulating our behavior, they are investing more and more into VR technologies. We already know about what Zuckerberg and Facebook are up to. Apple has its own design, so does Microsoft and Google. These companies want a future where we are all wearing their devices on our heads, blocking out the entire physical world from our view, and living our lives entirely within the alternate reality that they create for us. It's not hard to see why they find that so appealing. The entertainment industry is buying in now too. HBO Max will soon release what is being called a groundbreaking documentary. And it's groundbreaking because it is the first film made entirely in virtual reality. The website VR Scout has more. It says, shot during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, We Met in Virtual Reality is an upcoming documentary from the director Hunting that follows the lives of 5 specific individuals using VR chat and modern VR technology to connect with others in a variety of unique ways. The 90-minute film was shot entirely in VR. At no point do we learn the real-world identities of its subjects. Says the director, the film presents an immersive journey through the world and different VR chat communities. Each individual that you meet shares really unique experiences on VR, and each engages with their community in different ways. For them, VR means very different things. Through their eyes, the film presents a very broad portrait on how social VR can affect our emotional and social relationships with each other, but also within ourselves. The trailer was released a few days ago. Here's a peek at that.
Making friends here is sometimes what saves people's lives, or what gets them up out of bed in the morning. I am a teacher for Helping Hands, a sign language community here in VR chat. Hand rested under our elbow, and we're gonna go like this. Christmas.
Slow, quick, slow. If I had confidence that I could teach dance as a living in VR, I totally would do exactly that.
With a long-distance relationship, having VR is a game changer.
We are 5,000 miles apart, but we're gonna try our best to make it work.
This year has been really hard. The thing that has kept me sane has been VR and the VR community. I would not have weathered this without you guys. 3, 2, 1, Happy New Year!
You can be who you've always wanted to be, and you can, in a way, start over.
we can come together and support each other. This community means a lot to me, and I really want them to know that they're loved.
It's been a year since I've seen Kevin's IRL body.
Sounds
or his
funny.
IRL avatar.
Well, isn't that beautiful? People connecting, forming communities, falling in love. You can start over, says one of the VR fans. You can be reborn. You can be whoever you want to be, provided that you want to be a weird, creepy anime avatar. Like, if you want to be that, you can be that. This all sounds like a utopia with no downside at all, right? So what's the problem? Well, there are many problems, it turns out. We've talked about some of them before, but let's review. First of all, the documentary is filmed on the platform VR Chat, but based on the trailer, it seems to give a rather glossy and carefully curated view of this VR Chat platform. An article on the site Engadget gives the other side of the VR Chat story. Headline is, Investigation of VR Chat finds rampant child grooming and other safety issues. They report, quote, one of the more popular VR apps you can download through Steam and Meta's Oculus Quest store has a child safety problem. VR Chat styles as the future of social virtual reality. Our vision for VR Chat is to enable everybody to create and share their own social virtual worlds, the game's developer says on its Steam store page. With some understanding of Unity, players can create their own social spaces and avatars. That means you can see a lot of creativity on display in VR Chat, but there's also a dark side to it, as the BBC found out. Posing as a 13-year-old girl, BBC researcher Jess Sherwood said she entered a virtual strip club where she saw adult men chase a child while telling them to remove their clothes. In many of the rooms Sherwood visited, she frequently saw condoms and sex toys on display, and on one occasion even saw a group of adult men and minors simulating group sex. She also saw instances of grooming. Well, it turns out that virtual reality is, even in its fetal stages, infested by perverts and pedophiles, of course. No surprise. Just look at what happened in our real-life cities when we told everyone to wear a mask. Anonymity removes accountability and removes shame, which invites chaos. Now, put people in virtual world with full anonymity, an entirely new and fake identity, and also empower them with the false notion that nothing is real in cyberspace, as if the human beings they're interacting with don't even count as human beings. Tell them that the normal rules of morality and decency no longer apply, and suddenly it becomes like the purge every day, all day, except more sexual and with a lot more child molesters. This is just one of the problems with virtual reality, the fact that the internet is a hellish place where people act monstrous towards each other because they feel empowered to do so. But that's not the full indictment. I mean, in theory, putting all the sex predators aside for a moment, which is very hard to do when you're talking about anything related to the internet, but putting that aside, there's nothing wrong with VR in small doses as a fun, gimmicky little diversion. But we know that people in our culture don't engage in escapism entertainment in small doses. They turn it into a lifestyle. That's why even in the trailer for the documentary, we begin with some users discussing practical applications for the technology, teaching sign language, for instance. Seems like that's one area where it seems like that would be that would make sense. But very quickly, we start hearing how VR is really an opportunity to form loving bonds and find community and reinvent yourself and restart your life and find meaning and everything else. So the pipeline from escapism entertainment to lifestyle choice is short. And the transition from one to the other happens at near lightning speed. We are a culture obsessed with escaping. VR offers the most complete form of escape, short of suicide. The user can block the entire physical world from view, enter into the internet, recreate themselves according to their own vision, or rather according to the vision of Apple or Microsoft or Facebook, which they will be tricked into thinking is their own vision. This grants almost unlimited power to these tech giants, allowing them to control, manipulate, track, and monetize your every movement, literally. I mean, think about for a second what they do on the social media platforms. The way they're able to predict your behavior just based on what you search for and the kinds of posts you click on and everything. That's why people often think when they see ads pop up and they think, oh, the phone's listening to me. No, it's not listening to you. It's even worse than that. They've built technology that can just predict what you are going to want. They can predict the kind of ad. Like you were just talking about something you want to buy. You've never searched for it before, and then the ad pops up. No, the phone didn't hear you say that. It just predicted based on your behavior that you would want a product like that, and then you did, which is a lot scarier. Now give them that kind of predictive capability when they can also track your movements, everything. What happens then? But worse, it further severs you from your physical existence and your actual true physical self. Now, it sounds like sort of new age claptrap to say that people need to be reconnected with themselves, find themselves. And it is new age claptrap, but in this case, the new age claptrap is inadvertently true. As human beings in modern culture, we find various and ever more elaborate ways of hiding from ourselves, shrinking away from our actual lives and bodies. And as that happens, the job of rescuing society from collapse and despair revolves more and more around encouraging people to live authentically, be yourself, not in the bumper sticker slogan kind of way, but in a deeper, more urgent sense. Inhabit your own life, be yourself. Live in and interact with and see the world, the physical world. Accept it and understand it and appreciate it for what it is. These days, we're always out looking for any kind of reality but our actual reality. And that's why our actual reality never improves. And that's why virtual reality is, once again today, canceled. Well, I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Matt Walsh Show. If you did, be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel and click the notification button to get more content like this. If you want to watch or listen to the full show, head to dailywire.com and subscribe today. You can also listen to my podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.